Welcome to the Profit Powerhouse, the podcast that goes behind the scenes with visionary entrepreneurs to uncover the real strategies fueling their success. Together, we'll explore the key drivers of their growth, the hurdles they've overcome, and how they've mastered the financial side of their businesses. Our mission? To arm you with the insights and tools you need to elevate your own profits to the next level. Ready to dive in? This episode is brought to you by Free Cash Flow Agency, the online accounting firm dedicated to helping digital businesses maximize tax savings and fuel long-term profitability. Now let's welcome your host and founder of FCF, Alan Chen.
Alrighty. Hey, everyone. Hey, guys. This is Alan here, CEO of FreeCashFlow.io, and welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover the secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their success, what challenges they face to come to the point they are, and how they master their finances. Our goal, to help you achieve the same success while maximizing your after-tax profit. All right, let's dive in. Today we have on our show, Alice Back, CEO of Couch.com. Now, guys, you're going to want to hear this pitch because I have the same issue with my family, right? Buying a new couch can be a confusing and challenging experience full of thousands of options, different price points, and sneaky salesmen. Unlike buying a new t-shirt, buying a new couch is something we only do a few times in our life and can be rather uncomfortable, pun intended. Couch.com is making finding a new couch a whole lot easier with information on how, where, and when to buy the perfect couch to match your lifestyle and taste. From a comprehensive library of couch brand reviews to a marketplace full of the best-selling couch on the internet, Couch.com is like a consumer report of couches. Founded by furniture industry veteran Alice Back, who previously founded and operated a popular furniture brand, APT2B, for 13 years, Couch.com aims to serve both consumer and retailers by connecting them on a singular destination platform, furniture discovery online, and on a local brick and mortar level as well. Couch.com is the place for couches. All right. Alex, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
That sounded real good, Alan. That was awesome.
Thank you so much for having you on the show. Hey, if you don't mind, to start it off, can you share a bit about your background and really what inspired you to start your business, Couch.com?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. So I have been in the furniture business for, it sounds weird because I look kind of young, but I'm over 40 and it's been over 20 years.
I couldn't tell.
Thanks. Little just for men goes a long way on the beard for the white hairs. For those fellows out there that are
side tip for all the men out there.
Okay. Anyway, I used to be an actor actually, and I was living in Los Angeles pursuing my dreams when I got a side job selling furniture. So I was slinging sofas instead of waiting tables to make ends meet. Right. And I ended up making a really good friendship with someone who ended up being my business partner. Now, he was in the furniture industry, and he and I decided to start a business called Apartment 2B or APT 2B. And at the time, there was basically no online presence for furniture at all. Like even the big box brands, IKEA was not transacting business online at that time. That's where we were back in 2010. And it doesn't sound like it was that long ago, but in the e-commerce landscape, it was like the ice age. So we sort of seized the opportunity. There was just a gap in the market, and we wanted to, our deal was simple. Let's bring a branded furniture store to the online space and try to make a living doing this. That was our first goal. But then as we got into it, and after a few years, we realized that there was really some big opportunity here. I mean, the furniture industry in America is $120 billion a year industry. So even a tiny slice of that pie can be a very lucrative one. So we started shipping nationally after a few years and took the business for about 7 or 8 years all the way to a point of acquisition. So we sold the company to a larger retail chain in the furniture space. And I ran the company as COO for 4 years after that point for the larger company. And then I left. My deal was up. It's time to go. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I made some money. I could have done anything. So I was thinking about it. And then somebody told me that the domain name couch.com was available. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't really want to be in the furniture business again, but I was like, okay, let me take a look at this. So I started thinking about what it could be. First, I was thinking sort of like in a linear sense, like, well, it's a perfect domain name to sell couches. And then I realized that there was a larger concept here that could be really scalable, which is a platform, a hub, a place, the Google of couches, so to speak, the place to go to find a couch, a place there where users or customers who have no idea where to go to buy a couch, they can come there, put in some parameters or search around, get educated, find brands, find products, things that there's a real need for this in the marketplace. Customers, as you said before, have no idea where to buy a couch. And on the other side of it, you have the retailers. The retailers have no idea where to find the customers because these customers only buy couches 2 or 3 times in their life. It's not like they can target regular purchasers or anything like that. So it's a very interesting dynamic landscape. Here comes Couch.com. It's a platform where we serve and cater to the retailers of the industry. It's a marketing platform for them. And we serve and cater to the customers of the industry because we're showing them the way and guiding them in the process of buying a new couch.
That's awesome. And by the way,
that's
Alex,
my life story, bro. That's all I got for you.
I need a new couch, right? So when I saw that you're going to come on the show, I was like, wow, this is a sign from above. Just kind of like when Couch.com became available as a domain, right? You saw that as a sign, say, I need to get back in the game, right? It's not time for me to quit yet, So that's for me. I was like, wow, I've been putting off couch buying for so long because it's been that confusing, right? There's so many of them out there. They all come in similar shapes and sizes, and I'm more like, why is this one $3,000 more than this one? They look the same color, same shape. And I saw all these great educational videos you have on your website. I'm like, yeah, this is what I need to really make an informed decision. It's a big one, right? A couch is a centerpiece of your whole house, your whole living room. Everyone sits on it. Even though we only do, like you said, only 2 or 3 times in your lifetime, one couch can last a decade, right? If used correctly, if served correctly. So, Alex, if you don't mind, pretend I am a consumer. We're looking to buy a couch here. Walk me through, like, what would be the journey for me once I hop on Couch.com? How do I get from discovery, to the process and be ending as a happy consumer? I have a couch delivered to my house.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do this. I'm glad you asked. So, the experience on Couch.com, we're still building it out, right? We've been rolling out our content and our platform in phases. It's a big job with a lot of scope. There's a marketplace that's coming. We have a few hundred products up right now.
Awesome.
Sort of a best-selling couches on the internet, as I like to say. And but it's going to be very, very comprehensive, where you can compare thousands of different products against each other. That's an example of the fact that it's not quite ready yet. The essence of Couch.com is going to be the place you come to find a couch. And here's how we start. We start by bringing the customers through a quiz funnel. Why a quiz funnel? Because it allows us to gather information from people to essentially help them along the way. I've sold hundreds of thousands of couches in my life, indirectly, I suppose, but quite a few directly too. And it always starts with what I call the lead variables. So everybody has a list of 2 or 4 things that are most important for them, whether that's the size of a couch, the type of fabric, the price point, that's a huge one, how fast they can get it, and of course, how comfortable it is, right? These are just 5 examples that I just gave you of a list of 20 different variables, some of them of which are important to you. So I'm asking you, my first question, what are the variables that are most important to you when buying a new couch?
So I would say definitely comfort, right? And enough space for, my whole family. I have 2 kids to sit on, and it has to be somewhat stain resistant because my kids are small, 3 and 6, right? And then, somewhat budget friendly, looking for something under $2,000. That's literally my budget.
Okay. So if we're looking $2,000 and under, that's probably the biggest variable for something. Sounds like you want not just a couch, but a sectional, like.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say 3 seats and one of those spaces where you can kind of lay down. I forgot what it's called, like a TV seat, I would say.
Yeah. A chaise or an ottoman or something like that.
Exactly.
Right. So, couches can range from $500 to $5,000, generally speaking,
it's huge range.
and above, as you mentioned already. So that's a big variable. that will sort of dictate, what you're looking for. You're not necessarily looking for something that's going to take you into your 80s. You need something for now that's good for the kids. Maybe with a fabric. What about fabric versus leather? Do you have a preference on it? And more importantly, does your partner have a preference?
We have different preferences for sure.
Oh,
right?
what a surprise!
Yeah. I think for her, it's more how easy is it clean, right? Because she'll be doing a lot of the cleaning of it. And for me, I kind of wanted to have a good aesthetic look, right? To fit in with the rest of the furniture in the house, the living room setup. We got a nice TV last year that we mounted, a Samsung that we're like, hey, this is kind of like going to be our entertainment center for going forward, right? So, yeah, for us, I don't know if it's as much as fabric, but more, I would say, the feel, right, of the couch to us. Does it get really hot and we sit on it for a long time? I think we prefer something of a cooler material if that exists, right? Something like that. So that's one of the difficulties also for us, Alex, is like sometimes we're like couches, one of those things like clothes. There's like, do we need to experience it at times, like try it on, right? How would you counter something like that? If someone's like, I could use couch.com, but I don't never get to try the couch. How do I know how it feels?
100%. I'm glad that you said that. So that's actually going to be my next question to you. So we know that we need to find a sectional sofa that's $2,000 or under, likely in a performance type fabric. It's fairly common to find, high performing cleanable fabrics, but that's a parameter. And you probably are not the customer who's going to buy something online. About 80% of the commerce in the furniture industry is still done on the brick and mortar level. That's why couch.com is catering to the brick and mortar stores as well. So one of the questions is, are you able to buy something online or do you need to see it in person? You, for instance, would probably check, see it in person. And then what we would do is take you to our marketplace, take you to our brand directory, and show you listings of products that are in your local area from retailers where you can go and try it out for yourself, most likely, or at least, in their catalog, in your local area. And here's some products, here's some brands that you might consider, and stores that you might want to go to as well. So that's the way we're going to help people funnel people towards their, the retailer of their choosing. It's not just the online retailers, but the brick and mortar ones, in fact, that need the most help in finding customers, because the traditional advertising messages, billboard, the penny saver and TV is not really working anymore.
No, definitely not. I agree. No, and that's wonderful. That seems like you already addressed a lot of the things that I would be thinking about using something like that, right? Where I'm like, well, if this is just going to lead me to buying something online, sight unseen, unfeel, untouched, I would feel quite uncomfortable doing that. But it sounds like you're like, okay, if you want to see it in person, here's the 3 to 5 store that fits your criteria, fits your budget, right? Fits the type of material you're looking for. And now it's very targeted as far as the selection, right? Whereas otherwise, I'll just be walking into an IKEA, right? And be like, I think it's these couches I want. I think it's these ones. I'm not sure. I haven't broken it down yet. And it's kind of like you're reverse engineering the whole process.
Exactly. So, you told me what area you live in because we live in the same city. And for instance, that's right. One thing in that specific area, there's a mixture of income levels, right? It's not just one, right? There's like beach communities of very wealthy people. You can end up in a high-end store and waste, 2 hours of your time in a place where you're probably not going to buy anything anyway. And it's just going to be a little bit stressful. Or you may end up in a low-end store if you're not careful. So this is a way, if you're going to go shopping, come to couch.com first and get your list of stores. If you want to go to 2 or 3, let us at least filter them down in a smart way so you don't waste your entire day, going around to these stores where you're not going to buy anything.
Got it, Alex. Any funny or inspiring stories of how you got this off the ground? Listeners out there love this because they want to know what difficulties usually entrepreneurs face along the way and how it was overcame, so then they can feel like, if they run into issues of their own, it's okay. Look at the success of Alex these days.
Well, as a founder who bootstrapped his last company, I have stories for days of hustling.
Awesome. We'd love to hear one.
Oh, sure. So I think one thing that made us successful was our ability early on in my former business to attach ourselves to bigger fish, so to speak, and let them propel us forward. One of the first things that we did at Apartment 2B was we established a partnership with Costco. So if you go into Costco's, you notice they have these special events or road shows, they call them, where they're giving out the pita chips and this, not the regular samples, right?
Oh,
I'm
not regular
talking
samples. Okay.
where they have like the 2 days only, get your hummus or whatever. Or we
Okay.
have we have these recliner chairs here. We would do it for sofas, and we would go in there and put our stuff down. But what we did is we started building a community like around that, and we had a place in person to send people. And even though Costco isn't the coolest brand on the block,
Hey,
especially
I love Costco, but yeah,
okay, now as dad, I love Costco. But our clientele then was like early 20s. They're not really going to Costco at that,
Sure.
that time in their lives. But my point is, using a larger brand or entity to propel you forward is can be invaluable, and it legitimizes your brand. It allows you to speak about it later and use that name to get in the door somewhere else. We had an opportunity at one point to it cost us a lot of money to do it, but to furnish the MTV Real World house back when that was still a thing.
That's awesome.
Right. So we furnished the Real World house. It cost us maybe, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 to do it, but it's such a good story. And I'm telling it now 15 years later. You know what I mean?
Great promotional story. Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes looking for opportunities that may not be cash producers in the short term have a sort of intangible value to help create other or springboard into other opportunities that are larger.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Just you never know where the networking can lead, right? You sometimes you go talk to some people, it's like, this is not really my target audience, it's not really related, but you never know who those people may know, right? Who those connections may lead to, and that sounds like what happened here. And Alex, how do you kind of stay motivated and focused when things may have gotten tough in your entrepreneur journey?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because actually we're in a really tough period right now of Couch.com. One thing I've been laser focused on over the past year and change has been building an organic, Google focused presence. And when you play the game of Google, everybody knows it can be a losing game. It's a gamble. So I put a lot of chips in that basket where we're creating content, optimizing for search engines. And our graph was going like this until about 2 months ago when it started going like this. So at this point, from an organic standpoint, we've lost, I don't know, 60 to 70% of our traffic that we had 2 months ago. So while that is disappointing, and I think everybody can take their moment or two to panic or be upset or disappointed about something. But here's how I've been describing it. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is we lost traffic. It's directly associated with revenue and how we make revenue with our affiliate partners. And we're not able to send as many people out, and we're not able to make as much money. On the good side, though, Alex, have spent way too much time focused on this specific organic strategy. So this was a very well-timed little slap in the face, a wake-up call of sorts, right? Telling me, the universe telling me, like, this is not the only path, dude. You got to go and work on your other user acquisition strategies, because the other ones are far more scalable and predictable. A paid acquisition strategy that is perfect is way more valuable than a very volatile organic one. So I've been going through that over the last couple of weeks. It's a mixture of disappointment and frustration, but also hope that now I have a reason to focus my attention elsewhere. You got to pivot a little bit and just roll with the punches.
That is just a great attitude, right? It sounds like just you're also talking from experience, from your years running Apartment 2B, right? To know that when it going gets tough, there's other paths out there that you can take to kind of overcome that, right? Don't just like bet it all on a dead horse, right? There's 10 other horses, hopefully, on that track. And Alex, I think it would be amiss for us not to mention, we live in the world of AI right now, right? There's AI this, AI that. How have you, I don't know, feel the impact of AI, or even integrate AI into your business so far?
So on the operational side, we use AI every single day. I have a small team at this time. because we're growing the business. We use AI for a lot of our content creation, not in the way that, that's not necessarily why we got, dinged by Google recently. It could possibly be why. But a lot of what we do is data aggregation on the internet and curating information for customers in a way that's a little bit more palatable for them, right? That's cornerstone to our strategy, and our purpose is to be sort of a place to take all the aspects of a brand and a website, compile them in one place so that people can compare one against another. So you can compare West Elm next to Crate and Barrel, their delivery times, their just general price points, how much do they charge for delivery, all these things that we kind of find out a little bit later. We're telling you up front if you want to start comparing where's the best place to shop for you. So those kinds of things, I mean, using AI to aggregate that information is far more efficient than going and actually searching every single page of these websites to get the information. That's one example. And then just on an operational side, I mean, I use AI every day just for, if we're sending out an email, I'm like, this isn't punchy enough. Let's see what GPT has to say. Just give me 10 ideas for this email subject line that's a little bit more fear inducing or emotion inducing for the user. And it never really disappoints. Like, you always get something out of AI prompts, I find. So operationally and internally, it's been invaluable.
I always get two sides of the coin when I ask this question, Alex. Some people love AI, and some people just kind of, are a little bit, I would say, not even fear, but just, they like the traditional way of doing things, right? They think AI makes things too standardized, not creative enough, not straight from the dome. But for me personally, I'm in agreement with you, Alex. I think, AI is part of life now, right? In a lot of aspects. You got to use it in the best way so that you can make it work more efficient, right? More low cost, and a way to make your flow just a better memory of life, right? In the old days, when people talk about work-life balance, it's just so hard to achieve, so everything was so manual. But now a lot of that low-level manual work can all be optimized AI-ized, and then you can actually be the CEO of your company, right? I know a lot of entrepreneurs coming out from the COVID and e-commerce phase of things. They're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm wearing 12 hats. I'm literally the producer, the shipper, I'm also the guy doing customer service for everyone. But now half those things can be AI'd, right? And you don't have to be the front man for all of those things. It's a lot easier to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness. I think investing the time now and getting comfortable with AI related processes and tasks, first of all, it's not going away. It's only going to get, it's like telling my mom about the iPad. She's like, why do I have to learn? I'm like, Mom, you want to live for another 25 years? You're going to have to learn this. It's not going away.
Oh man.
It's the same kind of a thing.
Teaching parents the computer. That's a whole podcast in itself, right?
Oh, you better believe it. No, but it's quite similar to that. Like, we as we're humans are creatures of habit, right? We don't want to change unless we have a really good reason to.
Yep.
And it feels like, because AI has a lot of negative stigma attached, that maybe it might go away, or we might go back to the old ways of doing things. But that ship has sailed. That is not happening 100%. Like, we are dialed into AI as a society, I think. So
yeah, for sure, Alex. I don't know if you've been paying attention to like the 12 days of ChatGPT. They're releasing like a new feature every day right now currently.
Oh, no, I haven't.
So one of the new things they release is you can just like take your camera now, point to things in the room, right, and it would identify what that is and tell you about it, and be able to teach you how to do something. I think the demonstration they had was how to do like pour over coffee, right? So they're like, here's all my equipment, like ChatGPT, walk me through how to do this, right? I imagine that's gonna create a lot of more visualization tools now, right, for a lot of companies, especially in the e-commerce space, where they're like, hey, identify what this couch is, right? Give me the dimensions, what type of material it is, and things like that. And that could bring them a whole new other like a visual search path for a lot of companies, I would say.
Big time. And just to address this head on, I intend to have, every possible AI tool that makes sense to have on couch.com to serve our customers. But couches are a little bit different for the reason that you mentioned before. Now, right. If I went on Amazon, for instance, and I scanned this shirt or use the GPT plugin that you're talking about, I will get probably the exact same J. Crew shirt, but if not, something that looks exactly like it, right?
Right, right.
It can identify that. What it cannot do easily at this moment is talk about some of the less tangible things like the quality and the feel. It can tell you about it, but maybe not really show you. And when it comes to a couch, it's actually something that people really want more of a touch point with than AI is able to provide at this moment, whether they physically have to feel it in person like you, or if they just need to like talk to a salesperson or just get a better sense of what it is. It's not everybody, but most couch shoppers are still in that camp.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now to turn the table to a little bit more of a finance topic, Alex. I know before we would jump on this podcast, you mentioned that you successfully gone do an acquisition, right, and then gone through the due diligence process. If you don't mind, can you just give us a little lowdown of how that process went for you? What leads to the successful outcome that you got, right? Like what are the things that maybe your company put in place, on finance side of things, operational side of things that entice the buyer or buyers to acquire a company previously.
Yeah. So one interesting thing, we were bought by a furniture retail chain. Now, the way furniture retail generally works and has worked for a long time is the cash flow is a little bit tricky, right? They need the product first to be able to sell it to the customer or convince the customer to wait to get the product. But in an in-person setting, that's far less likely, and all the competition has product ready to go. So there's sort of an upfront investment needed for most furniture purchases, for most furniture businesses. You need employees, there's tons of overhead. So I think in general, an online business it's almost the opposite. There's no physical location, theoretically no salespeople, although that's not really true. It's just different. But the biggest thing is that we take customer deposits 100% up front. We don't have to actually buy and stock any inventory at all. And that's what allowed us to be a bootstrap business, similar to many other e-commerce businesses operating in a dropship model, where you take the customer's money, then you buy the product to fill it. It's cash flow positive. And that is a major differentiator in a business. It reduces the risk and allows you to sort of grow a little bit at your own pace. But I'll pause there because I think that's an interesting topic and a differentiator between many different fundamental types of businesses.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the, I'll say, e-commerce businesses we deal with and help go through the due diligence process, that's one of the key factors I always emphasize with them, right? These guys are going to want to know what your cash flow situation is, right? How cash flow positive you are. Do you have any free cash flow? Or are you the type of business that has it all tied up in inventory, right? Is it coming over a ship right now from Alibaba and really you have no other access to cash because it's literally coming over on a boat, right? And are there any like key metrics that when you went through the process that those guys kind of hone in on? It's like, oh, I love that you guys have this. Your net income over your ad spend is this percentage, and anything like that just stood out for you?
Nothing terribly specific as far as what was really attractive about it. I think just our growth trajectory is not one that you generally see in furniture retail. Like an e-commerce business fundamentally that was on the rise is quite different than a brick and mortar retail business, which can only be as big as the area it's able to serve or the square footage of the actual store and how many products it's able. There are a lot more sort of fixed ceilings when it comes to a brick and mortar traditional retail business. But an online brand that ships nationally, it doesn't really have that many boundaries on it. I think that's maybe the most significant element. It's not really deep level accounting, but more of a fundamental aspect. But really just the scalability of the business and the growth trajectory that we were on at the time.
That makes a ton of sense. Alex, how, if you don't mind sharing, right? Like what was there a target in your mind of a multiple that you're trying to achieve, right? When you thought about selling your business, was there like a number you're like, I'm not going to sell until I reach this, this kind of number. And, maybe they hit that number, and that's why you decided to eventually say, oh, I'll let go, and start something new.
Well, the answer is no, and I'll tell you my story in a second. But my take on this is that it is whatever it is. I think people get hung up too much on comparisons to other businesses or comps, and sort of put themselves in that position and won't sell unless they get this exact number because the other person got that number and that's what I deserve. You can do that. That's fine. I think this question should be answered first from a more of an internal basis. And that's how we made our decision. We weren't trying to sell the business at the time that we were approached. We were approached one time and went through a little bit of the diligence process a year prior. So we kind of like got warmed up to the idea. We were just like entertaining it, like, all right, well, let's see what we're worth.
Yeah.
And then this other company that ended up purchasing us came along and we were ready to have the conversation. We had sort of the fundamental, like, why would we want to sell? Is this a business we want to keep or sell? And if so, how much? Well, we want it to be for life-changing money, but it doesn't have to be like Beverly Hills money. This is just decisions that we made based on the fact that it was mostly owned by two of us. We weren't diluted down to like 5% at this point and had to sell for 100 million. We could sell it for a nice number, and really benefit from it. So it's such a dynamic question, right? It really depends on so many factors. How many investors in the business? How much percentage do you? It's less about the multiple or the number, in my opinion, as it is, the overall situation and what it means to the majority ownership.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Alex, and great insight there. I think like when we get on client calls, a lot of clients ask us that question: when should we sell, and for what number, right? And it was like, well, we can't answer that for you because it's kind of like this is your life, right? Is there a number you need to reach to live a certain lifestyle or a certain life? Is there something you're trying to do afterward with that, right? Reinvestment into a different type of business. And what is the reason for selling? Are you tired of this industry, this setup, and how your life is? Is there not enough balance? There's so many factors that goes into it, right? But for us, at a financial standpoint, well, all we want to do is, hey, we want to make sure you get your money's worth, right? You put tons of hours into this. You're an entrepreneur. You're probably worried 24/7 about how this is going to go. You don't want to, at the end of the day, end up at a number where you wake up the next day, you're like, why did I put 10 years of my life into this and this is all I got out of it? You never want to have that seller's remorse, let's call it, right? Where out of it. And that's really the whole thing. And what we try to do is just like, we try to maximize it. Like, hey, these are areas they're going to, ding you on and say, hey, you need to get better in this. This is your last 18 months. You're not trending in the right direction. And they're probably going to, give you a cut on your multiple because of these factors. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, don't sell. Wait until you improve your margins, improve your product lines, and then try again, right? There's always opportunities down the line, and a lot of them are just so back and forth. Like, oh no, this is my last chance. This is it, kind of thing. Like, no, if you're running a successful business, they will come calling. Would you say that's true, Alex? Like, if you're running a profitable, successful business, they will come looking for you. You most don't need to go look for them.
Yeah, I mostly agree with what you just said. Like, it's, if you have a good business, you can find a way to make it successful for you long term, whether you hang on to it or sell it down the road. I think the only caveat I would give or asterisk to that statement is, depends on the industry and it depends on your position in that industry. There may be sort of some timeliness associated with you wanting to sell outside of your own personal reasons for doing it.
Right, sure.
And it may be smarter to offload a business in an industry that's, going to get crushed by tariffs next year or something like that.
Yeah. Good point. And with that, I want to lead off. Like, where do you kind of see the e-commerce industry heading?
That it may be smarter to offload a business in an industry that's, going to get crushed by tariffs next year or something like that. Is that, if you asked me this 3 years ago, I would say, coming off of the pandemic where everybody got a taste, even my parents who don't know how to use an iPad were getting their groceries online. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Instacart.
Big time. So it, I would have given you a different answer. But if you walk into a mall these days, you can't even get a parking spot on the weekend. It doesn't matter where you are. These malls are popping off. People love shopping in person. And now I see that I don't think that that's going to go away nearly as quickly as we think. So I am of the camp and as is evidenced by my business model of couch.com,
Yeah.
that brick and mortar, especially in certain industries like furniture, is not going to be going away quickly. Even though there are a lot of stories of certain big businesses going under, there's going to be a lot of shifting. The model is changing. The model is omni-channel. That is the model for every retail business in the world right now. Like it just has to be, where you need to be online and you need to have an in-store presence. Most of the online brands in furniture that I came up with that were my competitors, name any of them, they have at least 1 to 2 showrooms somewhere in some city in this country now, because they've identified that there's a need for some kind of physical presence.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to talk my personal experience over Black Friday, where we decided to brave the outlets and go to them. I had to wait an hour in line outside a North Face outlet in Ontario Mills just to get our jackets. That place was booming. If you asked me how the economy was when I was in that mall, I would say we're on the rise. Time to buy some stocks, fill it up. Like they were all those shops were doing so well. In comparison, like you said, a couple of years ago, I see a lot of malls shuttering and closing down. I'm like, oh, this is the end of all retail brick and mortar. I would never advise anyone to start anything like that, right? But now it's all, like you mentioned, omni-channel, hybrid models, right? Where you have the online presence, you have the store. Certain things people just like to try on and feel, right? Certain other things don't need that to be factored in. But my wife, she loves going to TJ Maxx, that type of store, and she's like,
hunt.
She's like, I have to feel it. I have to put it in my hand, right? No, don't get me wrong. We love buying from Amazon, right? Also, like a lot of households in the U.S., but some things you just got to go and say, hey, I need to touch this elf's hair or this gnome's hair before I can add it to my Christmas decoration.
And sometimes you just want to also,
Yeah. It's actually I think it brings joy, at least my wife's perspective. It's like it brings her joy to go shopping, to be in a physical store and, feel and touch and all the commotions and things going on, right? It's a different experience than
your wife loves shopping. Lucky you.
Yeah, so lucky. My wallet, not saying the same thing.
Exactly.
Alex, now to bring it all back, here at Profit Powerhouse, we love to learn about kind of the ins and out of the financial landscape of companies that you have started. So it doesn't matter if you want to talk from the couch.com perspective or Apartment 2B. How did you handle kind of like the financial aspect of all the things? Like, did you do it yourself? Which a lot of companies, I'm sure, when they started do it. Did you start hiring out to accountants and CPAs? Did you kind of do bookkeeping, tax filing, help you with tax savings? How did you handle all those things as you journey along, your companies?
Yeah, I think here's sort of my approach to accounting for small and emerging businesses. There's no shame in keeping track of everything on a spreadsheet for, the first year. All your accountants and CPAs, they have accounting software. They can translate a spreadsheet if necessary and make a QuickBooks file for you. Or, I wouldn't necessarily, I'm starting a business, I need to go become, a bookkeeper also, or hire one right away. Like, just focus on getting your business up and make sure you keep track of it is what I think. But yeah, at a certain point, like, you really don't want to get behind on some of these things. And I speak a lot about retail because that's the world that I've lived in the most. Like, these days, especially for the online business, with all the sales taxes, all the sales tax stuff, like, there's so many things to stay on top of. And one little misstep can be really, really tricky. So I would say that nowadays there's a lot of tools that are very affordable. But I think at a certain point in a business, it is worth investing in some real bookkeeping and a really good accounting team / software or tools so that you can keep track of things adequately. And the more you keep track of things, once your business is really growing and humming, the more you're able to identify in real time inefficiencies or opportunities to grow. Like, you don't want to be doing a yearly P&L. You want to be doing a monthly P&L and looking and seeing what, identifying trends. And if you're not looking at your stuff, once your business is really going, you lose track of it. And that could be the kiss of death. You miss miss an opportunity or you miss an inefficiency that needs to be corrected, and it can be really detrimental.
Alex, I can tell your financial awareness is just top notch, right? Just from that statement that you gave. A lot of times, we get entrepreneurs that come to us like, "Hey, I have made $0. I haven't started my Shopify store yet. I'm still brainstorming. Can I hire you as my CPA?" I'm like, "You don't need me. Get your business off the ground, get things going, start brainstorming ideas, test out some ads, for goodness sakes, on Facebook first. Make sure your product actually works and people actually want to buy it. Get some ROAS going, and then come back and talk to me, right? We never want to take on someone that's not ready to do so, right? But we also have the opposite end. We have guys who are like 10 years in the trenches and they're like, "Hey, I have been keeping track of everything on this little notepad. I've been scratching and scratching. Can you help me figure this my 10-year P&L? I finally have a buyer. I have finally a guy interested." I'm like, no, I cannot. Now, at least not in the short term, right? You give me a couple months, maybe, but then we'll have to push off other things. But I need clients who are in between that, right? Say, "Hey, I know that I'm just starting out. I should do things myself, save money, save costs, get myself off the ground. Find that little turning point, I always call it, where they're like, oh man, I do not want to be wearing 18 hats anymore. I should go and find the best person for each one so they can be optimized, right, for each of the sectors of my business." So those guys are the ones out there that I'm like, yes, you get it, and I can sense long-term, longevity for your business and things like that. Alex, one more question in this realm. Any favorite tax deductions? We love asking any guests on here. Any favorite tax deductions or write-offs that you have come across when you're, seems like you have a long journey here, so you may have came across time. You're like, "Oh my God, I found out about this from my CPA or bookkeeper, and I've been telling them we must get this done every year."
And I've had so many interesting ones.
Feel free.
Let me tell this story first. Just a major part of my strategy to start Couch.com in 2023 was that I had a lot of income in 2023 that I figured we might as well use this income to get maximum tax deduction rather than building the business a little bit more slowly. The fact that I had this income that I could use to offset, or I had the expenses rather to offset the income, I sort of front loaded it, and ultimately it was a little bit painful. Like from a numbers, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent last year on a business that was producing $0 in revenue. But at the same time, I was in a crazy tax bracket, and I got a big break just by timing things the right way. Sometimes just the timing of when you spend money on expenses can be incredibly impactful. So there's that. Oh God, man, just trying to think off the cuff about anything specific. No, nothing. I just write off every single thing I possibly can. And I know that sometimes makes more work for people like you to tell us no, or to sift through and push the level of, push comfort. But yeah, I think, deductions and business, this country is set up to support small business in various ways. And my recommendation is to take advantage of every single one of them until they tell you not to.
Absolutely. And you made up a great point on timing, Alex, right? A lot of tax planning and why people need tax planning is locking down that timing in the correct period, right? You got to take advantage of when, like you mentioned, we have high income so that you can offset those deductions that are coming in, right? Whereas if you don't do it in the right timing, the right year, now you have all these expenses, but you don't have the revenue to kind of offset it. You kind of lost out, right, on all the deductions that you could have taken if you have tax plan better. A lot of time people think like, oh, April 15, right, or March 15, that's the only time I need to kind of think about taxes or panic about taxes the super last minute. But really, all that should be happening the year prior when you agree, when you actually can do all that planning, can figure out how much deductions I can take during the year of the tax year. So, Alex, any last minute advice for more I would say beginner level business owners out there when it comes to managing their finances effectively?
Well, something I've been guilty of is not paying close enough attention in my experience, I'm always spent more every single time than I thought I did, whether I'm doing my personal monthly expenses or yearly expenses or the business, always have spent more. And at times I have to remind myself, like, that's why it's incredibly important to consistently keep track of what's going on. Even though you don't really want to see money going out when you're starting a business, most of the money's going out versus coming in. And it can be painful. But at the same time, it's so important to do that because it can really get away from you. And it's better to just be ahead of it than behind it. It's very simple advice, but it's also, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, we get really excited and really obsessed with, the growth of our business, and we're betting on ourselves so much that we don't want to be faced with the reality of the situation. And I think this is something that a lot of people kind of sort of suffer from, myself included.
Absolutely. And we can talk blue about it to our clients, and they would say, yeah, sure, you're just accountant, CPA, that's boring. But coming from you, Alex, that's going to become sage advice. We have to sell bites, I'm telling you. Yeah, looking ahead, what's next for you in your business? Anything exciting in the horizon you want to tell the audience about?
Yeah, I mean, we're building a lot of features out on our site. One of the ones that I think is pretty revolutionary is a national database for furniture retail stores. So, which will allow us to do something that I talked about before, which would funnel, a customer like you towards the retail store of your choosing, right? Gathering so many different data points from a store, the type of merchandise they sell, the price points, and things like that. This is a major data aggregation project that isn't just a slap up a directory kind of a thing. And it's going to be somewhat curated. And we also want to have a self-serve portal for the stores and retailers to be able to use the platform to reach out to customers and or have them reach, inbound sales leads and change their pictures and put up their promotions and just have it be a landing page for them. So that's sort of, mid 2025. That's what we're looking at. So we have a lot of exciting stuff with our business, but also some really great retail partners, that we're working with, some of the really, really big ones. So I think our momentum is very good right now.
That's awesome, Alex. I know I have already bookmarked couch.com, on my Chrome browser, but otherwise I'm not going to forget about it either. You guys have the best domain in the game, right? In the couching industry, furniture industry, right? It's going to be very easy to remember. Yeah, our last question for the podcast, always, we want to end with kind of one piece of advice that you can give someone starting their entrepreneurial journey. You can give 1, 2, or 3 simple steps. Like, what are the 3 things that you think, like, hey, if they just follow through on these 3 steps, with 1 or 2, however many you want to give, they can get going. They can get through the blocks, right? A lot of times entrepreneurs go through this thinking like, I can't do it. I'm not like Alex Bag. He's so talented and smart and good looking. I'm not like him. How do I become him? I don't know. I'm gonna give up, right? What would you tell a guy like that and say, you can do it. Here's the 3 things you should be doing to get yourself going?
Well, I think the first thing is self-belief above anything else. Like, any business self-help book will tell you this, but and I've heard it repeated a million times, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, everybody says the same thing, but it bears repeating again, which is when you ask people for an opinion, which is a vital part. So that'll be number 2. Asking for feedback and opinions, vital part of starting a business. Because it can't just live in your head and your own imagination. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that everybody's going to have a critical opinion, meaning a somewhat negative take, because they think that that's how they're helping you. They think that that's how they're providing value, and they're not wrong. It's almost their job to sort of poke holes in what you're doing. At the same time, that is the very thing that can really, really throw you off your game. You have to believe in what you're doing more than anybody else, and ignore people when it's time to ignore them, and listen to them when it's time to listen to them. Those are really, really important things. What's another thing? I think this is a really good one that's been big for me, especially in my former business, where we ended up pivoting almost completely by the end to a completely different price point and structure and brand vibe and everything. There's this quote that I heard, something like, when the market is gargantuan, the opportunity is endless, which is to say, if you're in whatever business you're in, unless it's incredibly small and niche, like, I don't know, I can't even get like certain kind of ice fishing or something like that. I don't know, something really, really small where there is maybe a market cap. If you're in an industry, whether you're cleaners, whether you are in the furniture industry or you are opening chains of Chinese restaurants, like it's vital to remember that there's tons of opportunity out there. If the one way that you've sort of tunnel vision focused on building your business is not working out, you can absolutely pivot or move to another sort of area of this industry that you're in, because there's tons of opportunity that you're not even thinking about in a million different ways that you can spin it.
That's wonderful, Alex. So we have self-belief, ask for advice, but don't listen to everything out there. It's not all good for you. And pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot, right? At the end of the day, there's a million opportunities in the same industry. You don't know if you found the right niche for you yet, right? And for me, Alex, that means that I'm going to start kitchenislands.com soon, right? And it's going to be all about kitchen islands. That's the other thing I really need in my life is a kitchen island. And that's so hard in LA to get, right? To have a kitchen that has an island in it, unless I'm living in those beach houses, or Malibu. I'm going to help people find that journey for kitchen islands, because you were so inspiring.
It's one of those things. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't know where to go for a kitchen island.
Right? We can collaborate. We can join forces. We can have a little showroom going with kitchen islands and couches. Hey, they're both super necessary things in my house. So
Okay, we'll start there. Your house could be the showroom.
All right, let's do it. I get free kitchen island and free couch. Why not? Right?
Promo, love it.
Yeah. That brings us to my last point, Alex. Usually we save this little section for any kind of promotional or giveaways that our guests will love to do, but you have a different spin to it. What would you like the audience and listeners to kind of take away from this?
Yeah, I'm going to take a page from my own book and go back to something I just said, which is at this point of our business, it's at a place where we need more feedback. And, we have a lot of users on the site that sort of come there anonymously. We can track what they do. We see we record their screen, their journey through the site. We can analyze those things as much as possible, but hearing direct feedback from people is very, very valuable, especially people that I don't personally know. So this is a great opportunity to ask for help from your audience and say, if anybody is willing to take a few minutes, go on couch.com, look around, browse, pretend you're looking for a couch or look for a couch, and provide me directly some feedback. My email address is alex@couch.com. It's pretty simple, and I'm very communicative. I would love to hear any feedback that anybody has about their journey or experience on the website.
That's awesome. Guys, it's very rare for a CEO to give their email directly away just like that. And I would go and bombard him, if not with couch stuff, just with memes, right? I think Alex will love a good meme too. So I'll put in the show notes, of course, in this podcast session. Make sure you go, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who's looking for a couch right now these days. Go to couch.com, give him some feedback, and Alex is looking on improving the site 5 to 10-fold next year. So we're looking forward to that. Alex, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. It was great having you, not just for the podcast's sake, for my own sake, my couch finding journey. So thank you so much for having me here.
And that wraps up another powerful conversation here on the Profit Powerhouse. We hope today's insights and strategies inspire you to tackle your own business challenges and take your profitability to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps spread the word. A big thank you to our sponsor, Free Cash Flow Agency, the online accounting firm dedicated to helping online businesses keep more of their hard-earned money and grow profitably. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your next big breakthrough is just one bold step away. Until next time, this is Alan Chen signing off.